Hello and welcome to Mcasts. This is Dr. Mark Miravalle. My friends, I have a very simple but I think very important message for you today. The message is, defend your church. Defend the Church of Jesus Christ. Defend the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Defend the vicar of the one true church. Defend your church, the church that you are a member of as a member of the mystical body. And I say this because it seems like more and more attacks against our holy faith are coming forward, more attacks against our Holy Father, more attacks just against the basic teachings of the Church. And the attacks are something that to a large degree we can't affect. That's out of our hands. The response to the attacks is something in each one of our minds and hearts, in each one of our abilities. And it's our call as members of our faith to, with courage, truth, and always charity, to defend our holy faith. The recent news regarding Pope Benedict, and it's an unfortunate thing to even have to talk about contraception in a public arena this way, but this is a reality of the state of the world at present. The interview that Pope Benedict gave, where he said that a first step towards a moral consideration of another person would be exemplified in a male prostitute with the use of a condom. That was Pope Benedict's way of trying to say, look, do you see how far the Church goes to try to bring forth mercy and compassion and understanding, but without ever justifying and condoning an intrinsically evil act? It's really very simple, my friends. Contraception is an intrinsically evil act. The Holy Father was in no sense accepting, condoning contraception, or condoning the use of condoms. He was saying in this case, at least the male prostitute was thinking of someone beyond himself. That's a first step towards proper moral living. The Holy Father prefaced his comments in this interview with Peter Sewald by saying that condoms is not the answer. He also stated that the Catholic Church does more than anyone else in successfully battling AIDS. And many countries are acknowledging that because of the love and charity that the Church shows to AIDS victims. But by using something intrinsically evil, you can't use a bad means to a good end. And that continues to be the message of the Vicar of Christ. And sometimes, my friend, it's a bit like what Jesus says in the Gospel. We piped you a tune, you didn't dance. We wailed, you didn't mourn. It's saying, we're trying to make you happy. No, I don't want to be happy. Okay, you want to be sad? We'll be sad. No, I don't want to be sad. Let's go to a wedding and celebrate. No. Let's go to a funeral and weep. No. And you know why there's this general dissatisfaction? One fundamental reason why there's this general dissatisfaction with our Holy Father in the Church is because for some, nothing will satisfy. And the only way that that's remedied is by courageously and boldly looking inward and seeing, am I giving Jesus an honest chance? Am I giving the Catholic Church an honest evaluation when I take something that the Pope says so far out of context to perhaps justify a position I may be disposed of? Well, for us Catholics, we have two responsibilities. One is we are called to look inward. That's why we have seasons like Advent and Lent. It's a call to conversion based on the fact that we are sinners. Sometimes we'll say, I don't know if this individual should be in the church or that individual should be in the church. The question is, if they're sinners, they should be in the church because they should be sitting right next to us in the pew because we're sinners. The call is to get in grace, to use the sacrament of confession. That's whether it's adultery or pornography addiction or homosexuality. Jesus wants all in the church. And to get in the church, we all have to avail ourselves of the sacrament of confession. And that's the way we can say, yes, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus who wants everyone to be Catholic and wants everyone to be in grace. So sometimes for the Catholic, we have to examine ourselves. We have to be careful that we're not inadvertently a reason that someone leaves the church or someone attacks the church by our scandalous activity. So yes, we look inward first, but then we boldly look outward and say, thank God I'm Catholic. Thank God that through no merits of my own, I am a member of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And then we're called to boldly and in charity defend our church, defend who we are. That means at the water tank at work, you hear somebody speaking against Pope Benedict, you say, excuse me, I'm Catholic, please don't speak against the Holy Father in my presence. You hear someone talking about, oh, the Holy Father's allowing this condom use. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, you have that wrong. And quite frankly, I agree with him. Condoms are not the answer. And you know what? Some people will say this, my friends. They'll say, the church is so concerned about these little iotas. I mean, it's too rigid. What's the big deal about condom use? The church has to lighten up. Well, let me tell you the big deal about condom use. The big deal is sex is sacred. The human body is sacred. And whenever there's things sacred around, you have to have laws and rules to protect the sacredness. The church does give an iota about you and the sacredness of your body and the fact that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And that's why the church will give very strong and clear teachings that cannot be violated because the church doesn't want you hurt. Because when you're hurt, it hurts God. And so, remember, historically, there was a great case in the 4th century. It was when there were more Arian Christians in the level of bishops and priests than there were Catholic. And the Arian heresy is the heresy that thinks that Jesus was a super creature. He wasn't really God. He was similar to God, but he wasn't really God. He was a super creature. And there were people like St. Athanasius. They called him St. Athanasius contra mundum. St. Athanasius against the world, because he, as one bishop theologian, held that Jesus Christ was really God and truly man. And so there was a formula that the Arians made about Jesus, and they called it homoiousios in the Greek, that Jesus is similar with God the Father. And the truth that Jesus is God is homoousios. That means of one nature, of one substance with God, consubstantial with the Father. And that's the difference between you and mine salvation. You know what it is? It's an iota. That's the Greek letter that's in homoiousios, which says he's just similar. Jesus is similar with God versus homoousios, which means no, he's truly God. And that difference is the difference between our salvation, because if he's not truly God, we're not redeemed. There was an infinite price paid. The difference is an iota. That's where you get the expression, I don't care an iota for this. Well, the church does care an iota for things sacred. The nature of Jesus, your and my redemption, the nature of the sacredness of sexuality. And that's why the church will defend, and the Pope will defend, truths that are so necessary to save souls. And so my call to you today is join Pope Benedict, defend the church. Charity, yes. Truth, yes. Boldness when necessary, yes. And I ask you to pray to St. Andrew. St. Andrew traditionally in the church has been a great patron to defend the church based on his great defense of the church as an apostle. So pray to St. Andrew that you and I will have the courage to stand up and be recognized with Pope Benedict during these times. Because, my friends, I believe it's going to get worse. And when it gets worse, it gets better in this sense. It's more of an opportunity of us to show our Catholic witness. We are members of the true church through no merits of our own. We are members, and that comes with a great responsibility. Truth and charity and joy. And I say the last because it's very important that we show that those who do have the truth, those who do care an iota for things seemingly insignificant to the world but significant to God, will be the meritors of great rewards in heaven, and that gives us joy. This is Mark Miravalle with Miracast, asking you, calling you, defend our church. God bless.